Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let's take a look at all the different storage options you have in Mac Photos. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now the basic setup for Photos in your Mac is to have just one Photos library. Have that in your Pictures folder and have that set as your system library so it syncs with iCloud and you just put all your photos in there. Whether your needs are pretty basic or you have a ton of photos like I do, usually that's all you have to do. But there are also a lot of other options. So in Photos, if you go to Photos Settings and then under General, the very first item is the location of the library you're currently viewing. So in this case I can see it's in the Pictures folder in my Home folder and it's got the default name Photos Library. And I can show it in the Finder by clicking right here. It opens up a new Finder window and there's my Pictures folder and there's the Photos library. And all my photos are actually in here. It appears to be just one file, but actually all of the photos are stored in there. It's a special kind of file called a library file. Now you also notice that Use as System Photo Library is grayed out. That's because this is in fact my System Photos library. And that means it's the one that iCloud will use. iCloud Photos uses a single library. So even though you can have multiple ones, only one of those on your Mac can be your iCloud library. So this is a typical situation that most people will use. Now since this is the iCloud library, let's look at those options first. I go to iCloud here. You can see under iCloud Photos I've got the option to have Download Originals to this Mac or Optimize Mac Storage. Download Originals to this Mac means that all of your photos, the original photo and all the data, will always be on your Mac's local drive. So you have 100% of your library local. In addition, they will also be in iCloud and then any other devices like iPhones or iPads you may have will be able to see that same library. If you turn on Optimize Mac Storage, that means that while you see all your photos here as you look through the thumbnails, if you actually go to look at a photo, when you're looking at the full resolution photo, if it's not cached on your local drive, then you'll have to load it from iCloud. Depending upon your connection, this could be pretty much instant or it could take a few seconds. So you could flip through all your photos just like if all your photos were local. But if you want to go and view one and see the details and edit it and all of that, then it's going to have to download it first. And which photos are cached locally and which are not depends on how much space you have left and how recently you viewed the photo. So your latest photos and ones maybe you're just looking at, they're all going to be local and you'll be able to go and view those without any additional downloading. But maybe a photo you haven't looked at in a long time may not be local, especially if you're short on hard drive space. Now it's important to realize if you're using iCloud Photos that all of your photos are on iCloud at all times. So 100% of your library is always in iCloud and all the thumbnails are always local. It's just the full resolution photos for viewing and editing that are cached locally and downloaded as needed. But if you switch to Download Originals to this Mac, then 100% of your photos will be there all the time. This works great as long as you have a big enough hard drive to hold all your photos. Now let's look at some other storage options. The first one I'm going to show you still has the idea that you're just going to have one Photos library and it could be your iCloud library or even if you're not using iCloud this still works. And that's to go to this item here, Importing, and you see the checkbox next to Copy Items to the Photos library. If you turn that off, what will happen is the next photos you import will not be imported into the library. But you'll still see them here in the list of thumbnails. So I'll drag and drop this new photo here just from the Finder. It's just a regular file. And I'll bring it in. And you can see now it's under Imports. And if I go into my library, you can see it's right here at the top. I can go and view it and do everything I could normally do with it. Except that because it's local, it will not be part of my iCloud library. This one will just be skipped over. If I control click on it, I can even see here Show Reference File in the Finder. Whereas if I click on one of these, that doesn't appear because it isn't a file in the Finder. That one is inside the library. So I can continue to import photos in now that I have this checkbox unchecked. They will not be added to my library, only referenced there, so linked to from the library, and will not become part of iCloud. In general, I don't recommend this option. It's too great of an advantage to have all your photos in iCloud. However, this can work well for a non-iCloud Photos library. That way you can have all of your photos stored in folders as you want in the Finder and then have a library where they're all imported in without this checked. So none of the photos are actually in the library. They're external to it but you still have access to them all here in the Photos app. Now I can also create more than one library. I'm going to quit Photos here and I'm going to launch it again, but this time holding the Option key down. And now here it's going to actually look for libraries that are on my local drives. And I can select one of those. So you can see here for this one it actually recognizes that this is my current system photo library. And that makes it easy to find that one again. But I have some other ones here that are old archived projects. I can also create a new library like that, and it's just like creating a new file. You determine where you want the library to go. You name it what you want. Now I know a lot of people will jump on this and say, great, I can divide up my huge photos library into multiple libraries. But I don't recommend doing that because then it's very hard to find photos. You're looking for a photo but you don't remember which library it's in. However, having another library can be useful when the pictures are substantially different than the ones in your main library. Like for instance, say you're asked to attend a wedding and act as the wedding photographer. So you take several hundred pictures that day and they're not really your pictures. They're not something you want in your library. You can create a new photos library for that, store them all in there, use that library for editing them, exporting them, but that's separate from yours. And then all you would do is launch Photos with the Option key held down and then it allows you to choose the library. So you can go to that other library, open it up and work with it, and then Option launch Photos again and go back to your system library. And when you create a secondary library like this, it doesn't have to be in your Pictures folder or even on your local drive. You can put it on an external drive and access it from that. Now one thing to note is external drives are always slower than your internal drive. Even if you have an external SSD and you're connecting it by USB 3 or Thunderbolt, it's still going to be slower than the speeds of your internal SSD. Apple puts really fast SSDs into their computers, usually much faster than what you can buy as an external drive. And then of course internally they don't have the bottleneck of that USB or Thunderbolt connection. And what's even worse is I sometimes hear of people trying to put a photos library on a network drive. And this is much slower than even a connected external drive. It may sound like a good idea, but then try scrolling through your photos like this or going through each one very quickly, just clicking through them like that. When that's on an external drive, that's going to be slower. And when it's on a networked drive, then it could be painfully slow. But if it's an old project and you're just archiving it and you rarely need to actually access it, then a network drive may be just fine. And one last option I want to mention. You can actually have your system library, your iCloud library, on an external drive. So right now the default is to have it there in your Pictures folder. But if I wanted to, I can move that to an external. Moving it is just as easy as moving any other file. I'll quit Photos here and if I look in my Pictures folder, there's that photo library. I'm going to open up another window here and then I'm going to go to my archive drive here, an external drive. I've got a folder in here. I'm going to call it Temp and I'm going to move the library here. Now because I'm moving to another drive it's going to copy the library there, which is fine. You can copy it there and we'll get a full copy here on this external drive. And then now that I see it safely there, I'm going to drag my original library there to the trash. When I launch Photos now, it's going to say it can't find it. So I'll say Open Another and it should locate the library here, or I can just click Other Library and I'm going to go to Archive, my Temp folder there, open this one. And there's all my stuff. If I go to Photo Settings and then I look here, I can see that the library location is now on my external drive in this folder here, and there it is. And now I can click Use as System Library. It will switch to it, but it's the same library. So it's just going to take a little bit to sync up to make sure that it's got all the same photos and everything's the same. And then I'll successfully have moved my Photos library to my external drive. This is not a good idea if you're using a MacBook because now you have to have that external drive always connected to your Mac in order to use Photos. It's a little easier if it's a desktop Mac because you can just have that drive attached 100% of the time. You don't have the problem of figuring out how to carry it around with you and always keeping it connected and using up more of your MacBook's battery because you have an external drive that's powered up. So I hope you found this look at different photo storage options useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.